people to fall into this gap, because tomorrow that kind of belief will not hold. Things stay alive because there is struggle about it, because I keep on thinking about it, because I keep on somehow fighting about it. Religious certainty. What is religious certainty? That's the reason, by the way, why you can't inherit faith, religion. I mean by that the following. I mean by that you can't just become religious because your parents were religious or your grandparents were religious. Just a family tradition. I know it happens all the time. But when you speak about these people, with these people, I've done this many times, then you suddenly find out a very strange thing, that these people really don't believe. You can't inherit it. One of the great Hasidic rabbis, the Kotzker Rebbe, unbelievable man, used to say like this: Moshe Rabbeinu, when they sing the song at the sea, after the splitting of the sea, Ath Yashir Moshe, which we sing in the synagogue, it says, Ze Keli ve'anvehu, this is my God and I will exalt him. Elokei avi va'aromemenu, and it is the God of my father and I will admire him. Ask the Kotzker Rebbe, why twice? Ze Keli ve'anvehu, this is my God ve'anvehu, and I will somehow exalt him. And then I continue to say, it is also the God of my father. Says the Kotzker Rebbe, profound. He says, first you have to discover yourself God. You can't inherit him from your father. After that, when you have discovered him, you will say, wow, that's the God of my father. Not the other way around. So therefore faith is indeed a difficult undertaking. It takes the whole of your life, and it doesn't matter when you continue to fight about it, because that's what it is all about. Constantly fighting, constantly trying to understand what the deeper meaning behind that is. I will not yet answer questions now because we don't have the time to do that properly. As I told you, 6 hours I have to do with just over an hour. Okay, I want to read you something of Abraham Joshua Heschel, one of the great Jewish philosophers of our days, died several years ago. Hear well, please. This is serious stuff. He says like this, when he speaks about inheriting faith. He says, we do not leave the shore of the known in search of adventure or suspense, or because of the failure of reason to answer our questions. We do not go on that road of belief to answer finally all the questions. But he says, beautiful, he has such a poetic way of writing, this Heschel. He says, we sail because our mind is like a fantastic seashell. And then applying our ears to its lips, we hear a perpetual murmur from the waves beyond the shore. That's faith. I repeat this for you, this is so fantastic. You have to learn this by heart. We do not leave the shore of the known in search of adventure or suspense because we want to have a final absolute answer. No, we sail in this world, S-A-I-L, because our mind is like a fantastic seashell. And when applying our ear to its lips, we hear a perpetual murmur from the waves beyond the shore. Martin Buber tells a fantastic story in his Hasidic writings. A fantastic story. He says, there is one day an Orthodox Jew who comes to his Hasidic Rebbe and he says to the Hasidic Rebbe, Rabbi, every morning I'm lying. I'm not telling the truth. This is why. He says, because every morning I say like this, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema. I believe with full faith in this and in that and in God and in Mashiach and everything else. But when I look to it myself in the mirror, I have to say, do I really believe this? How can I say this every morning? Anima means be'emuna shelema, or is full and absolute faith. So he says, perhaps I should stop this saying this because I'm not telling the truth. So the rabbi said, so wise. He says, no, 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 no. You misunderstand what this means. Anima mean be'emuna shelema doesn't mean I believe with full faith. It is a prayer. You know what a prayer is? May I believe with full faith. Not that you are there, but you hope one day, please God, give me the opportunity to believe more of all this. And while this may not completely fit into my theory over here, there's an important point being made here. We just hope for it. We fight for it. We never make statements like the Yud Gimel Ikarim, Maimonides, his principles of faith. Your chief rabbi, Rabbi Sachs, good friend, once said to me, and I think he wrote this also somewhere, and I think it's so beautiful. He says, you know, we read or we say every day, or at least on Shabbat, we sing the Yud Gimel Ikarim, the 13 principles of faith by Maimonides. We call it the Yikdal, Yikdal Elokim. Right? We sing it most of the time at the end of the service. So he asked a profound question, why do we sing it? Why don't we say it? We should say this. And according to how Maimonides wrote it down. We made a song out of it. Why? And he gave the following profound answer. There's a big difference between saying something and singing something. If you say it, you leave the words exactly within their little world. It is what you say. That's what I believe. When you sing it, you take the words out of its very limited contents and meaning, and you give it a musical note, and it becomes something different. It becomes a song. A song means to say that it is no longer completely determined by the word, because the tune behind it takes the word out and moves it up to a higher level, and it becomes something of a piece of Mozart. Let me ask you the following. Is music true? Is music true? You would look to me and say, Rabbi Cardozo, what is wrong with you? That's the wrong question. I agree. Music is beautiful. It's not a matter of truth or untruth. That's what religion is also about. Religion ultimately is a form of music. It is something which happens within. You can't explain when you hear a Mozart or Paganini or anybody and you will be completely carried away with it. You can't explain afterwards words, using words to explain what happened to you. Or when you stand at the seashore and you look the sun going down, you can't explain that afterwards. They are words which don't exist. They are ineffable. That's the way how religion works and what it should mean. You cannot put it into a dogma because you kill the experience that way. It's a great pity that the Catholic Church keeps on doing that. Also, I think lately they start to understand that it is a mistake to bring religion to people like that. Let me add a word of Erich Fromm. Do you know who Erich Fromm is? Erich Fromm was one of the great psychiatrists, the Jew in America. Somebody nearly on the level of Freud, who, by the way, wrote fantastic, beautiful things about the Jewish tradition. And one of the things he writes is like this: the quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. It blocks the search for meaning. Uncertainty is the very condition to impel man to unfold his powers. To unfold his powers. All what we can do in this world is probability, and never to say, I am 100% sure about nearly anything. Anything what you do, you rely on belief. You believe that the man to whom you brought your car, that he knows how to repair it. You can't prove that. And sometimes you walk out and you realize that you were wrong. You only can hear, in religious terms, as Heschel says, the perpetual murmur from the waves beyond the shell. You know, when I read the prophets, Yeshaya, Yirmiyahu and so on,